You had to think about that for a second.
A COVID Tuesday. That's the thing. It's like trying to figure out what day it is with COVID. That's been one of the biggest challenges. What day is it? Have I worn these clothes? How many days in a row? When's the last time I showered?
I can actually go a few days in a row without even talking about
showering.
Without even talking about or thinking about COVID. I just don't even.
What are you looking forward to? What activity are you looking most forward to for the summer? Kayaking?
And scootering. And beach day.
Beach day. Well, it seems like you would have your summer planned.
I know.
So electric scootering, kayaking in a blow-up dinghy that is super dangerous because I've done it once. And thank you for buying me a dinghy.
You're welcome.
And what was the other one? Oh, beach day.
I know.
Sitting at the beach.
Every once in a while I get nervous that I'm going to need to get a job because I don't actually have time for a job. I mean, I'd have to significantly change my lifestyle.
Change your exciting summer. We have a little 14-foot aluminum boat in the front, and it's doing a wheelie, getting the snow out. And so me and Jordan were walking into the driveway going, we got to do some fishing. This is it. Yeah. So I'm excited about fishing. Do you like fishing? You want to like fishing.
I like to spend time with you.
On the water?
I like to set some parameters.
Would you rather go fishing in a motorized boat with a seat, or would you rather us go kayaking in a rubber dinghy?
I'd rather go kayaking.
Really?
So I don't mind coming fishing with you, but I like to set some parameters. I really, I like to be comfortable, and I like to have a coffee, and then, and then I'm going to wind up having to go to the bathroom. And so fishing's over, like 2 hours. Like
we could get a pee boat, like a pee container.
No. That's the whole thing. I don't want to be stuck in a boat all afternoon.
But you're stuck in a dinghy. Do you pee in your dinghy? No. Because it's like, there's water in it?
No.
Have you ever?
No.
Okay. So if I want to get into this dinghy life, can I do my own dinghy? So, like, can I buy a little dinghy with a little trolling motor?
The reason.
Because then I would like it more.
Now I don't want you with me with your little trolling motor.
They're silent. They're beautiful.
I don't believe you.
I can prove it.
The reason that I love the kayaking so much is because I get to see the turtles and the great blue herons and the geese, and even though I don't really love the geese, but that's what I love about it.
Okay. I don't look forward to dinghying, but I do like the beach days because you invited me on some, and I just said I wouldn't talk and I would just sit in the shade, and I enjoyed watching because it's like people watching. And then what was your other one? Oh, I enjoy scootering because COVID gifts, we bought scooters, electric scooters in the suburbs. We have all the bike paths near us, so we like go scootering down the bike paths, and yeah, it was kind of fun last year. So I'm looking forward to that, going touring downtown again. We did tours downtown with our scooters.
I think it's going to be a good summer.
I think it's going to be a great summer.
As long as I don't have to get a job.
Okay, let's get our morning devotional on. We talk about codependency and addiction, substance abuse addiction, and we try to make it make sense. And we are left with a thought for today, and we carry that as a meditation and just basically invite God into all the parts of recovery that we talk about for him to illuminate wounding or ideas that we talk about in our reading. So we are March the 23rd.
Boundaries is a big concept.
Boundaries is a huge concept.
Misunderstood.
So complicated. There was a book called Boundaries that we got to read. It was like a homework assignment for me. And there was boundaries in marriage. There's boundaries in life that you make, and then boundaries with kids. I was reading the boundaries with kids part, and coming into the book, I thought I was minus addiction, like that. Those 8 years of my kids being into the world. So minus that. But the other years, I thought I was probably in the mid-range of parenting, like not bad, but not perfect, and probably at a 70. I read that part of the book, and I realized I like 40% fail.
I don't know. That's a hopeful story for people right now. So you should probably just start reading.
Setting up. All right. The point is, I think the topic of boundaries is super
complicated.
Complicated.
It's
That's
very
the right word.
complicated. Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Maybe this will simplify it. Here's a quote. We need to know how far we'll go and how far we're allowed others to go with us. Once we understand this, we can go anywhere. And that quote is beyond codependency. When we own our power to take care of ourselves, set a boundary, say no, change an old pattern. We may get flack from some people. That's okay. We don't have to let their reactions control us, stop us, or influence our decision to take care of ourselves. So flack being people's responses.
Yeah.
Okay. We don't have to control their reactions to our process of self-care. That is not our responsibility. We don't have to expect them not to react either. People will react when we do things differently or take assertive action to nurture ourselves, particularly if our decision in some way affects them. Let them have their feelings, let them have their reactions, but continue on your course anyway. If people are used to us behaving in a certain way, they'll attempt to convince us to stay that way to avoid changing the system. If people are used to us saying yes all the time, they may start mumbling and murmuring when we say no. If people are used to taking care of their responsibilities, feelings, and problems, they may give us some flack when we stop. That is normal. We can learn to live with a little flack in the name of healthy self-care. Not abuse, mind you, flack. If people are used to controlling us through guilt, bullying, and badgering, they may intensify their efforts when we change and refuse to be controlled. That's okay. That's flack too. We don't have to let flack pull us back into old ways. If we decide we want to and need to change, we don't have to react to flack or give it much attention. It doesn't deserve it. It will die down. Prayer for today. Today, I will disregard any flack I receive from changing my behavior or making other efforts to be myself. Amen. I have never said flack that many times. So flack being people's reaction
Giving you a hard time
for me changing unhealthy patterns.
Correct.
So then they do that through guilt. They do that through control, manipulation, anger.
Yeah, somebody
reacting.
Might try harder to convince you. They might be upset. They might like,
because you're saying no, you're setting boundaries.
Right. And so do you know what the key is that I saw here at the end?
What?
So we're talking about boundaries. And so when it says at the end, today I will disregard any flack I receive for changing my behavior or making other efforts to be myself. Boundaries is about me and my behavior. Boundaries are not about trying to control what another person does. And that's where I spent a considerable amount of time trying to control or change what you did. And my boundaries had to be like, I am willing or not willing to do this or that, or to, live in addiction anymore, or to, it's about what I'm willing or not willing to do. So I'm not willing to call your boss. I'm not willing to call your boss and call you in sick. Whether you call your boss or not is entirely up to you, but it's about what I'm willing or not willing to do.
You don't have to call my boss ever again.
Ever again.
Unless you do. No, so then what you're saying is that boundaries is for me.
Right.
As I grow and as I change in recovery. But then what you're saying is you've seen people use boundaries to control others.
To try, yes.
So saying you're in a situation and go, oh, I'm setting up a boundary.
Right.
I'm cutting you off.
And I'm not willing to take this from you.
Yeah. Okay.
So I don't ever have to tell you that.
In our recovery from codependency and enmeshed relationships, once I'm awakened and once I'm becoming healthy and God's changing my heart, there's going to be things that I'm going to have to change. And so then flack of guilt and shame and condemnation and those kind of things, aggressive behavior is going to happen from those I have unhealthy parts in relationships.
Right.
And so I don't want to detach from everybody and everything, but I want to detach from unhealthy parts of a relationship. And that's setting up a boundary.
I had a beautiful example from someone in the last few months, because I went to a week away, codependency, a week away, and we talked about lots of different behaviors that codependents have. We talked about defense mechanisms, and we wound up talking a lot about what are the things that I do that I recognize are actually not helpful to my well-being, and also really not helpful to the well-being of others. And so someone, was trying to create a new dynamic between themselves and their adult child. And so, that person like makes a decision about what they're willing to do or not do for their adult child. And part of, creating new boundaries is actually like, I'm not going to take the phone call when you're telling me off because I'm not doing what I've been doing for 20 years and now I'm not going to do it anymore. You're not going to be happy that I'm not doing that anymore, but I don't have to take that phone call.
Well, and it's like in early recovery when you actually made a decision to leave and go, this is the best for us and this is a boundary. And I'm like, you have left me and forsaken me. You are against you're against God because he never and I manipulate and I control. But you did what was best for me. And I actually was able to get into recovery that way.
One of the ways that I prepared for that moment under the advice of somebody, I don't know who, people. I don't know where I got that advice from, but one of the ways that I prepared for that moment is I actually had like a cue card, but a note that I kept on me with 3 lines so that if we spoke, when we spoke, I had 3 lines that this is how I'm going to reply to you. These are because I would panic you're so good with your words and you're so forceful with your words.
Dyslexic kid
you would convince me that I was the bad person. You would convince me that I was doing a terrible thing. You were very manipulative. And so I had these 3 lines in my wallet.
Because you were setting up boundaries.
Yeah.
And they affected me greatly.
I remember sitting on the bus, going to work, and I remember pulling that out because...
And I would bring up our marriage, and you said a vow, and now you're leaving me. And so you're not keeping up your end of the vow. So, but I've never kept up the end of mine. And when we look at codependency and addiction, there is no boundaries. Our addiction, because we're under the kingdom, the rule of the reign and the governance of alcohol and codependency. So then they're the ones setting the rules, the governance. And I kept changing all of my boundaries. And
the cool thing is that actually, I think she said that in this reading, is that people may intensify their efforts, but that's okay. They're going to give us some flack. But then if we stick to what we've decided, eventually they will back off. Eventually they're going to get used to this new rhythm of our relationship.
The part of your healthiness goes this way, and you take the unhealthiness a part of the relationship, and they're only going to badger us so long. So we talked about Flack way too often. And so we just want to leave you with boundaries. What's your experience in changing your boundaries? Have you gotten some flack over it? Has that been hurtful? How have you got through it? Join us tomorrow for our All Addictions Open Share meeting at 12 p.m. Eastern time. Feel free to drop in on that with Zoom. We have links and everything, information below. So we just want to leave you with boundaries. Until
good morning, Morgane.
And good morning, guys. And then
for joining us, everyone who's listening.
We will hopefully see you tomorrow. Until then, wash your hands and keep the peace and be of good behavior. And we'll touch base tomorrow.
Keep the peace and be of good behavior.
I heard it in